My name is David.
And my name is Jason.
And this is Discern Realities, a Dungeon World podcast.
Bow, wow, wow. Bow, wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Our first segment is What Happened Here Recently. Jason, this week I would love to tell you about how I used your labyrinth move and how great it was and how everyone loved it.
Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad. So I've been getting a lot of love for the labyrinth move since we did that episode, too. So that's exciting. Tell me about it.
I mean, I'm not surprised that you're getting a lot of love because it was great. So I was running our final wrap-up session of a 3-part adventure that I was doing face-to-face with some friends in Dallas. And it started with the Deathfrost Doom and ended with the labyrinth move. And basically they were hunting down the big bad that they had been dealing with the entire adventure. He was unburying this city that was in the desert, and he was using all of his minions to dig it out. And it was an entire city, so they were going to have to wander through it to try and find him.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's how I adapted it. I was having them describe, how are you trying to do that? Are you just going to go up the middle path? That's like the biggest, broadest path, or are you going to go down these side alleys that might lead to him, or they might just lead to dead ends, or are you going to, do you have another ideas? So, they had some good ideas. They tried to get up high so that they could see the entire city. So I had them roll +int for a good plan. It was fantastic. We had rocks, the giant bird creatures of the desert. I always love those.
Good.
They had to deal with those. They had to deal with the mother one, and then the little baby ones that are hatching out of these jeweled eggs, and the thief is trying to steal the jeweled eggs, and then finally they get to the end. They were way too scared about the labyrinth. It took about 2 hours for them to get through the labyrinth. They were too scared to look for treasure. So they got to the big bad guy, and then they're fighting him, and it's going bad. They've been hurt getting through the labyrinth, and 2 of the players passed beyond the black gate.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's success in my book.
Yeah, and then the final player fought his very best, but thought that he wasn't going to be able to overcome this enemy all on his lonesome. In defeat, he fled, but not before he burned the beloved of the big bad, who he was trying to resurrect.
Nice.
He burned him to the ground and said, "Sorry about you."
Awesome. That's cool. I like how you adapted my labyrinth move for not a per se labyrinth, but a sort of practical labyrinth, or for all intents and purposes, labyrinth, right? Of this decrepit city. That's a cool idea. I had never really thought about it in that way. I guess I kind of did, because my original labyrinth was really just a vast palace, But it's good to hear that it works in that context. I like that. Did your players seem to like it? Like, were they into the holds and spending the holds and all that?
Yeah, they were. Like I said, they were too nervous by the time they had enough hold to go looking for treasure. But that was just kind of because they kept running into guardians.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, they really liked it, and they loved being able to contribute to the fiction by describing the city and what it's like, since I kind of set up that it was this ancient city that's being unburied, and it has layers. Like, it wasn't just a city before it was a city, it was a city, and it had been buried before. So it's just cities on top of cities.
Right, yeah, on top of old ancient cities beneath new growth or whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
So
I think the key to making it successful, to ask them lots of questions and to really focus the players on describing the environment and describing the process of navigation. That way it feels like they're working through a problem, or they're spending time navigating around, even though there is not an actual map that they're turning left, right, turning right, going up, going down. So yeah, I think that's really key.
Thank you for sharing that move. I'm glad it's getting a lot of love, and I want to give it some more. So thank you.
Cool. No, I know. I'm very flattered. I love it.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is What Should I Be on the Lookout For? Jason, what do you have for us this week?
Okay, so this week I wanted to talk about the Teratic Tome by Rafael Chandler.
Nice alliteration.
Yeah, it's good. The Teratic Tome is actually an OSR supplement. It's not directly connected to Dungeon World. What it is a monster manual, essentially. It's presented as this monster manual for this D&D game that never was, called Evolved Grottos and Griffins. And it's set up to look like an old D&D, first edition D&D monster manual, right? The typefaces, the paper, the art, all that stuff. It's a really, really beautiful book. The reason why I'm going to suggest it for Dungeon World players, or Dungeon World GMs, really, is it has some very, very interesting and unique monsters. I think this is the book you want if you want a cohort of monsters and creatures that are a little different. It's the sort of thing that you're going to want to pick up if you want a selection of really unique and different monsters. Sometimes you get tired of the orcs and the goblins and the ogres and the chimeras, right, and the manticores. You want something a little different, and boy, this book has it in spades. These monsters are fucking disgusting. They are almost like Cronenberg-esque body horrors. It's very OSR in that way, like just very nasty, like dark creatures. Like if you want to take your game to like a little bit more transgressive place, this is a great book for that. And I like to go to those places myself every now and then. So I'll just give a little sample monster. I'm sure Rafael won't mind. It's the first monster, in fact, called the Chronicle. Now the picture, it looks like kind of a strange insectoid creature, but I wanted to just read a little bit of the text. The Chronicle is a large insectile predator that strides on 6 armored legs, 8 feet tall at the shoulder. It has a dark maroon exoskeleton and serrated black hooks at the end of both arms. It reeks of vomit. Created by anhedonic priests many centuries ago, this nocturnal creature stalks and kills adulterers. It hunts married people who stray from the beds of their spouses, and it hunts those who fornicate with married people. Chronicles are drawn to the scent of such persons and can detect it from miles away. Hunting in small packs, the beasts crawl across the walls and ceilings, silent and careful, closing in on their victims. They stalk everyone who is peripherally involved in the duplicity, neighbors who turn a blind eye, innkeepers who knew exactly what was going on, and so forth. Those involved are tracked down, attacked while alone, hamstrung, and devoured by the Chronicles while still alive. It goes on at some length about its powers and stuff. The monsters are all of this sort. They have strange motivations. They're just weird and different, and the art is really bizarre and gross, and I just love it. I love this book. Now, the monsters aren't ready for Dungeon World. You have to do some conversions, but you could very easily, punch in the details into Dungeon World Codex, and it'd be great. So
that is so disturbing.
Yeah. Oh god, the book is just filled with nasty ass monsters, and I love it. So I think the Teratic Tome is great. Groups should give themselves permission to do slightly transgressive things in their Dungeon World game from time to time, and this is a great way to start.
Yeah, I can see those particular creatures just being the feature of like a one-shot where your players are just in a town, and there's these creatures attacking them, and they're trying to figure out why. And then when they do, they're like, oh no.
Yeah, the monsters all have pretty good story hooks. Like that one that I read, like the story hook of like adulterers, right? Like you could build a whole little mystery out of that, right? And it'd be really fun. I've used a few of them already since I got the book. I've only had the book for like a month or so. It can be found on Lulu. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Sweet. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is What Here Is Not What It Appears to Be. This week, I would like to talk about the Black Gate and that particular move not being quite what it appears to be. In particular, the 7-9 result, where Death offers the player a deal. So recently in our community, we had a fellow Gauntleteer Brandon, who was asking some questions about how to better handle the Black Gate 7-9. He says he's heard plenty of stories about the Rangers with the pets, and that's pretty classic. I've done that one. And he wanted to know some other ways that it could go. And the community responded. We had some great ones.
Well, so what we should probably back up and say that Brandon's, and I'm sure he won't mind us saying this, Brandon was kind of approaching it from a certain angle, like, which was more of a like punitive angle, right?
Yeah.
And more of like, what do I take from the character if they get a 7 to 9 on Blackgate? Like, what do I try to take from them? And so he was focusing it, like, he was kind of making it more of like a punitive thing, and all the responses were more of like, no, you should approach it from more of a like make the story interesting angle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. Make it as fictionally interesting as you can, and sometimes that is punitive. Right. I usually try and have at least like a fictionally punitive thing, even if it's not mechanically punitive.
Mechanically, yeah. You want to make it hurt a little bit, right? Like it has to be something that they might potentially say no to.
There's nothing quite like a moment when a player says, no, I can't do that. I'm going to pass beyond the Black Gate.
It always feels really good, doesn't it? I've had that happen a few times recently, and it always feels like the player was really like in their character's headspace, and like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's against my beliefs or my religion.
Yeah, recently I mentioned at the top of the show, I had a couple players die. One of those players was a druid, and they had a 7 to 9 result and chose to go beyond the Black Gate. And the choice that I offered them and that they said no to was mechanically that they would have to switch what their nature was, so they would just change what kind of druid they were. But fictionally, I was telling them, in your Black Gate, they had described it as like a forest, and it's very peaceful. I described that there's a great tree in the forest, and there's a grave in the ground, and it's dug. You will have to lay in it and become one with the great tree, or you can come back to life, and the tree will wither and die. It's just the tree of your soul, and you'll have to change your nature. And they said, I can't do it. It's not right. I have to keep the tree of my spirit alive.
I had a character once who was a monk whose order was dedicated to like battling these evil dragons, and one of these evil dragons sent his ass to the Black Gate, and so one of the things that the Black Gate, the death required, was that the monk actually infiltrate his order and subvert what they were trying to do, thereby giving the dragons power over the land. And he wouldn't do it. He was like, no, like I can't, like it's, so it was a pretty powerful moment. Well, let's read Scott's. Scott's was really cool.
Yeah. Listener Scott said one of his suggestions, one player had to kill a lich that was turning thousands into undead, robbing death of all those souls. Another had to bring death a book that was in the possession of a being known as the Broker. The druid was asked for a seed from the world tree. A few times, gods or angels have stepped in to offer something to death in return for the player's return to life. That lich I mentioned before caught the party in a trap and caused a total party kill. Afterwards, when everyone was at the Black Gate, the kings and the angels made a deal for their lives with death because the party had saved his daughter earlier. My group has even witnessed a passing of the torch where death killed a demon lord, but was injured enough to have to be restored to the celestial realm, so he was replaced by another angel they had helped before. Luckily, anybody who had a deal going didn't have to follow through with that new death.
Nice. Yeah, this post is really great. The conversation's great. People offer a lot of interesting like examples of things they've done on the 7 to 9 offers for the Black Gate. We should probably link to that post in the show notes. And if any listeners want to like add their own experiences at the Black Gate to that post, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, with Scott's, like, it just made me think about this whole idea of like my characters getting to the Black Gate and seeing this drama unfold between death and other angels, and seeing that like as an ongoing story. Cool. Yeah, like that's really cool.
And I think that's ultimately, kind of the answer we were giving to Brandon, which was the 7 to 9 result. The Black Gate is not about being punitive or taking something away from the characters. It's more about taking the fiction in interesting new places, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Our next segment is what here is useful or valuable to me.
I wanted to do another compendium class. We kind of had some themes lately on the show, and one of them has been compendium classes. I think a lot of the compendium classes that are out there in the world, particularly the ones in class warfare, are they're good, but they're kind of basic. I like compendium classes that have like a real thick layer of like specific and interesting fiction, right? And so I have a compendium class here called the Spider Thrall. And it's kind of it's a compendium class that has a sort of interesting structure in the sense that after you get the initial move, that move is just a die roll. And then depending on how that die roll goes, that determines what advanced move you can take later as a result of having the compendium class. So that first move is kind of a throwaway move. You get an XP for engaging it, but otherwise it's just a way of like kind of opening up the other moves. But the other moves are really good. So it's kind of like you're building up to like a really awesome move in a couple levels. I'm not going to read the whole CC because it would take too long. I'm going to read the initial move, and then I'm going to just explain briefly what the move options are. It'll all make sense once I post the text of the CC, and listeners, you guys can actually read it for yourselves. It'll make more sense. But for now, and I will post the text, so you don't have to like be scribbling down notes right now. The way you open the CC is this. When you have taken an action pleasing to the spider goddess Malgoliant, you may take the following move when you level up. Now, obviously, you can insert whatever the name of your spider goddess is in that. My spider goddess is called Malgoliant. So, the move is called Student of the Many-Eyed Mistress. For 7 nights in a row, your dreams are filled with visions of the secret history of the spiders, from the beginning of all things, down through the age of legend and the age of occlusion, and into the present age. The GM will describe these things for you. On the 8th night, you will stand before Malgoliant herself, and she will ask you what spiders desire most. When you give your answer to Malgoliant, mark 1 XP and roll plus int. On a 10+, you get access to a move called Children of Malgoliant. On a 7 to 9, you get access to a move called Blessed of the Eight-Legged She. And on a 6-, you get the lamest of the moves, but it's called Oh, the Webs We Weave. It's still pretty good, but it's not nearly as good as the 7 to 9 move or the 10+ move. The Children of Malgoliant is a move that essentially has you finding great spider eggs and then raising great spiders that fight alongside you and that you nurture while they're growing. And then once they reach their full growth, they go and find a lair of their own, and then you mark an XP. So that one's pretty cool. And then Malgoliant gives you a vision of where to find another great spider egg. Blessed of the Eight-Legged She, which is the 7 to 9 result. That move basically has you growing spider legs on your back that have like razor forelimbs. They're really good. Like they have close, reach, messy, and plus 1d8 damage. And then you can also crawl on walls and stuff. And then the 6- move, you are deemed unworthy to be a true spider thrall. So you get this move called Oh, the Webs We Weave. Which has nothing to do with divine power from Malgoliant, but it does have you thinking sort of like a spider. It's a move that lets you kind of more skillfully execute plans to trap people and stuff like that. So in your metaphorical webs. So that's the CC called Spider Thrall. The full details will be in the text, which I will post in the show notes.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's a completely different structure than I've ever seen a compendium class be. It's really cool.
I've never actually used it, so if somebody wants to play it in their game and let me know how it goes, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll have some people run into a spider goddess. I don't know if she'll be named Malgoliant, though.
You can name her whatever you want, but...
Even though it's a perfectly good name.
You can name her whatever you wish.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. Our next segment is What is About to Happen.
All right, this is our ongoing comic strip AP featuring the adventures of Domenico Castafiel. And when we last saw Domenico, he had just thwarted the assassination attempt on almost inhumanly obese gangster Iotho Bruno. Iotho was taken to his room to rest, and Domenico managed to get into the room to chat with him. But Domenico insisted that they rest first, and so he wanted to have a little sleep. It's nighttime, and he had just invited Domenico to snuggle up next to him and sleep with him for a bit. And I think that's where we pick up. The guard who's in the room extinguishes the lantern lights. There's just a shaft of moonlight piercing, into the room, right? Iotho sleeps fairly silently, like there's no great heaving or snorting or anything like that, like you might expect based off what we know about Iotho. About how long do you just kind of hang out there?
I have an intense 15-20 minutes of terror that he's going to somehow roll over in his sleep.
Right, okay.
And During that time, I'm just trying to focus on reciting spells in my head. And I'm going to refresh all my spells, if that's cool with you.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. And it calms me down a little bit. And then I actually kind of try and sidle off the bed and go in the corner where I can converse with my invisible servant and make sure he's recording all of this correctly.
Indeed. As you sidle off the bed and move toward the corner of the room, Iotho speaks to you. I'm so happy you're here with me right now, Domenico.
I turn back around and look and see, did that just come out of his mouth?
It's a bit dark, but the voice is definitely coming from Iotho. You can't really see, though, because it's still a bit dark. There's just a single shaft of moonlight that kind of cuts through the middle of the room. Otherwise, it's just darkness.
I'm going to summon a werelight.
Okay. Is that a spell?
Yeah, that's one of the basic, one of the cantrips.
Oh, okay, sure. I'm not interested in you rolling that. You can just have a little light. That's fine.
Okay. I think it's very, very small light. Like, it's like a pin light in this dark room, so I can't probably see everything all at once.
It's taken me so long to get here. And I'm so very, very close. I've traveled through such darkness to be here. And I'm so happy that I'm here with you.
I'm shining the light, trying to see if, like, that's coming out of his mouth or somewhere else, or what's going on, because this doesn't seem quite right. But I'm gonna try and be as civil and try and play it cool as much as I can, and I'll respond in a whispering voice. Where have you come from? Please tell me of your journey.
I will probably give you a discern realities roll momentarily, but I'll tell you what you see just as your light just glances on Iotho, right? As you focus it on Iotho. What color is the light, out of curiosity?
It's like a blue-white kind of light.
Okay, sure. You see Iotho laying on his stomach, and his mouth is wide open, but like more than wide open. It looks like almost like a cotton mouth, like it's been like stretched open, right? Like twice as wide as a mouth should be able to open. And it's just hanging open, and his eyes are closed. And the voice, though, is definitely coming out of his throat, for sure. Come closer.
I'm just gonna try and get as good an angle on it as I can from a distance before getting too close. And I say, please, tell me more. Tell me more of your journey. Tell me, where do you hail from?
Go ahead and roll discern realities.
Sweet. 3 questions.
You can go ahead and ask one straight away.
What here is not as it appears to be?
Clearly, this voice is not Iotho's, but there might be something living inside Iotho.
What is about to happen?
There's no danger. It's going to just converse with you.
Okay.
The place I come from has many, many rooms. A palace with 1,000 and 1,000 more rooms. Atop one another, gold and glittering.
Sounds pretty good.
I was so close, so very close. You know, you did not stop a death tonight. You stopped a rebirth.
What were you trying to accomplish by having Iotho or whatever vessel?
Vessel. Yes, that's a good word. Vessel. The vessel must be opened. The vessel must be opened.
Who are you?
I have many names. 1,000 and 1,001.
And what do the names mean?
Go ahead and ask your third question.
What here is useful or valuable to me?
You definitely disrupted something tonight. Tonight was not a murder, in fact. Well, it was, but it was more of the completion of a ritual. Okay? And you may be able to use that as some sort of leverage against whatever this thing is.
So does he answer? Does he answer the question?
No. Iotho's mouth is just hanging open. I see it now. I see it now. You're after something. I can see it written on your heart. Perhaps I can help you.
Can you help me in ways that Iotho can't? That I would betray him in some heinous way?
The vessel means nothing.
How can you help me?
I know many, many secrets. I know the secrets that you seek. That which you seek is like a locked door to which I have a key. But you too have a key to open the door that will allow me to be reborn into the world.
I'm not sure that I trust this creature. It's anything born out of death like this is just asking for trouble. Is it possible that I've studied creatures like this?
Maybe. Roll spout lore and see.
It's a 10.
The creature is almost certainly a demon or a spirit from another plane of existence. That's the interesting bit. The useful bit is that, yes, it can almost certainly help you with your family's vampirism problem. You know, wealth of information gained from eons of being a demon, right? But those sorts of things always come with a price, right?
Right. Probably even beyond killing Eotho.
How do you know all that?
Demonology and wizarding go like hand in hand, because we have to study it, make sure that we keep on top of what extraplanar creatures might accidentally breach through when we're doing certain rituals. So this is like, demons in general are common knowledge, but I have spent my life studying how to do rituals and try and get like my family back in order. So this kind of thing comes up pretty often in that kind of lore. Oh, I don't know if I'm interested in letting this creature out.
It's going to happen one way or another. The vessel will be broken open. Whether done by you or another's hand, I offer you now an opportunity to at least gain something from it.
What assurances can you give me of my safety and of your actual intent to help me? Dealing with demons is dangerous work.
If you do this thing for me, I will tell you one of my 1,001 names, which will give you a certain measure of control.
All right. Is the guard still around?
Nope, he's gone.
I don't know, because Eotho has that artifact. So I hear the demon's words, and I recline in a chair, a very opulent chair nearby, as I ponder through it and wait to see if this is the right decision to make, because demons are so dangerous, and Eotho may already have a solution for me. But if the demon is getting out, regardless, which if a demon has one assassin coming, then he likely has more. And if he comes out and I didn't help him, then that's having to deal with a demon.
I'm so glad you're here with me, Domenico.
All right. That just leaves one final question. Who's really in control here?
That would be the Gauntlet Gaming community. We have a website now. It is www.gauntlet-rpg.com, gauntlet-rpg.com. You can find new podcast episode, including links to our show, The Gauntlet Podcast, as well as our new show, Plus One Forward, a podcast powered by the apocalypse. Also links to our communities, our meetups, and all that great stuff. So go check out gauntlet-rpg.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, listeners. That's our show.